Welcome, deep divers, to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to becoming truly well-informed on the most captivating stories unfolding.
Always great to be diving in.
Today, we're not just dipping our toes, we're plunging headfirst into a world really on the brink. A city where every choice, every long-held secret, and every unexpected return seems poised to utterly shatter a fragile peace.
Yeah.
Imagine Port Charles this fall. It's less a quiet town with minor dramas and more, shall we say, a ticking time bomb, a true powder keg.
Precisely. That's actually the exact term the co-head writers Elizabeth Corte and Chris Van Etten used. They described Port Charles as a powder keg, primed to explode with twists and turns, suspense and surprises, anchored with emotion.
Anchored with emotion, I like that. It's not just plot for plot's sake.
No, exactly. They promised us a canvas filled with characters, facing challenges, making mistakes. There are triumphs, failures, wrong turns. But the core, they say, is the why. What makes it matter are the emotions they experience, why they make the choices they do, and above all, the love the characters have for each other. They mention all kinds: familial, fraternal, friendship, and of course, romance.
Always romance.
Always romance in Port Charles. It really sets the stage, doesn't it? High drama, but rooted in something recognizably human.
And that, my friends, is our mission today. We're going to unpack the most crucial nuggets of knowledge and insight from the General Hospital Fall 2025 preview. We'll explore the core themes weaving through this incredible material, dive deep into those character motivations, really get into that, why they make the choices they do, and identify the critical relationships driving all this drama.
Yeah, try to find those sparks.
Exactly. We're looking for those hidden sparks that are already igniting what's shaping up to be an explosive season. So, to kick us off, given the sheer number of moving parts here, what kind of narrative shockwave truly grabs your attention? What makes you lean in, a long-running story like this one? What's the catalyst that feels truly seismic?
Ooh, that's a good question. For me, it's always those foundational shifts, the ones that don't just affect like one character or a small group.
Right.
It's the ones that truly ripple through generations of characters, the ones that redefine the show's very landscape. They challenge the established hierarchies, force totally new alliances, and, essentially reset the narrative clock in these profound ways.
That makes sense. It's not just moving pieces, it's changing the board.
Exactly. That's what makes the long game of storytelling so compelling in these sagas, I think. You see the echoes across time.
I couldn't agree more. And when we talk about foundational shifts, it's hard to look past what's about to happen at the very heart of Port Charles's most iconic family, the Quartermaines, right?
Oh, absolutely.
This fall brings a monumental spark right into their midst, forcing a generational reevaluation. Something that's going to echo throughout the entire community, not just their mansion.
Indeed. We're talking about the devastating death of Monica Quartermaine, Leslie Charleston's character. I mean, she's been an integral part of Port Charles for nearly 50 years. A matriarch in every sense of the word. Her passing isn't just a character exit. It's a fundamental alteration to the show's narrative canvas. It's like removing a foundational pillar from a historical building,
Nearly 5 decades. That's just... it's astonishing for any character, really. A real testament to Leslie Charleston's enduring presence.
It really is.
And the preview explicitly states that Monica's death will devastate the Quartermaines, with Jason Quartermaine and Tracy Quartermaine being particularly affected. So this isn't just a simple loss, is it? It feels like a genuine generational shift for the family. They're going to have to grapple with what it even means to be a Quartermaine without her anchoring presence.
Absolutely. And that's the key, I think. A character of Monica's stature spanning 5 decades doesn't just represent a person. She represents the show's history, its continuity. She's a living bridge to its past. So her death isn't merely an emotional event, though it will absolutely be that, deeply emotional. But more critically, from a storytelling perspective, it fundamentally changes the family's dynamic. It clears the narrative deck for entirely new plot lines, new power struggles within that Quartermaine structure.
A power vacuum.
Exactly. In serialized drama, such a profound loss often serves as a catalyst for a kind of regeneration of the family, right?
Yeah.
It forces every surviving character to redefine their identity and their place within the clan. It's a classic storytelling maneuver. You create immediate power vacuums, you ignite new ambitions, it fundamentally alters the show's DNA, not just moves pieces around. It forces a complete reevaluation of what it means to be a Quartermaine in her absence. Every interaction, every decision suddenly feels heavier, more significant.
Okay, so While much of Port Charles and the Quartermaine family will undoubtedly come together for mourning, for togetherness, the preview hints at something darker under the surface. It states, "For a few, it will mark an opportunity to be seized." That line really jumped out at me. It's classic soap opera, sure. But in the Quartermaine sphere, a family already prone to infighting and ambitious power plays, who were the most likely candidates to exploit a moment of profound grief?
That's the million-dollar question.
And what kind of power play would that even look like within their complicated legacy, especially with such a massive void left behind by Monica?
Well, that's where it gets truly fascinating and where the writers show their strategic hand, I think. The show has scored a major casting coup. They're bringing in Erika Slezak.
The Erika Slezak.
The Erika Slezak, six-time Daytime Emmy Award winner, iconic for her role as Vicky Lord on One Life to Live. And the preview specifically credits executive producer Frank Valentini with coaxing her to join the cast.
Okay, coaxing tells you something. This isn't just a walk-on role.
Not at all. It speaks volumes about the importance of this new character, and her arrival is directly linked to Monica's death. The timing is, well, it's far from coincidental.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting then. Introducing a powerhouse actress like Erika Slezak in a role that immediately shakes up the Quartermaines.
Yeah.
And she has surprising connections to the clan and mysterious ties to others on the canvas.
Right.
That just screams deep narrative implications. She's stepping into this void, this moment of extreme vulnerability for the Quartermaines. So how does her character specifically challenge the status quo, as the preview says?
Yeah.
It sounds like more than just becoming another family member.
Oh, absolutely. Her arrival during this period of grief and transition isn't just about adding a new face. It's about injecting a completely new dynamic, a potential destabilizer. She's explicitly stated to have surprising connections to the clan, could be blood ties, old business deals, maybe long-buried secrets, who knows, and also mysterious ties to others outside the family.
So her reach is wide.
Exactly. That ensures her influence will be far-reaching, multifaceted. Her presence, especially right after a loss that shakes the family's core, ensures that whatever new power dynamics emerge, they'll be complicated by her agenda, her hidden relationships, maybe even her own claims to a piece of the Quartermaine legacy.
Ah, okay, so she won't just fill the void left by Monica.
No, I think she'll likely reshape the entire Quartermaine landscape, force new alliances, expose old secrets, potentially even make a claim for a piece of the family's fortune or influence. She'll fundamentally disrupt any expected, quiet mourning period.
Okay, wow. And speaking of reshaping landscapes, let's talk about Drew Quartermaine.
Ah, Drew.
His journey over the past year, and it's been nothing short of dramatic, hasn't it? He started as a relative outsider within the family, but the writers, they say they reimagined and empowered his character by leaning into that very status.
Right.
And now, he's evolved into Port Charles' public enemy, #1. That's a stark transformation.
Yeah.
How did he get to this point where he's seen as such a threat?
Well, the writers actually give a fascinating insight into this. They mention a canvas can suffer from having too many heroes.
Interesting. A practical writing consideration.
Exactly. So by embracing Drew's outsider status, they've given him this clear, compelling motivation for his descent. In his mind, he's been slighted and marginalized by the Quartermaines. They effectively cast him aside, closed, and locked the door behind him.
Okay, so he feels deeply betrayed.
Deeply. And this act of perceived betrayal, of being pushed to the periphery, it unleashed him, made him, as they say, capable of just about anything.
And the prediction for his path this fall is pretty ominous.
Very. It might lead to ruin or even an early grave. His bold moves and transgressions have earned him a raft of enemies, and the warning from the writers is crystal clear. You can only push people so far before they push back. It's a classic arc, isn't it? A character pushed right to their breaking point.
And the most buzzed about current storyline right now is Drew's shocking shooting by an unknown assailant. That's the central mystery. That just adds fuel to the fire, doesn't it? Makes him both a target and a protagonist in his own dark story.
Absolutely. It complicates everything.
As a viewer, when a seemingly good character's fall from grace creates this kind of compelling, unpredictable drama, what about that archetypal journey really grabs you? What makes his descent so captivating?
For me, it's the moral complexity, the exploration of those gray areas. When a character like Drew, who maybe once operated within a clear moral code, crosses a line initially, perhaps, for what he sees as justifiable reasons, like self-preservation or getting back at those who wronged him, and then just keeps going down that path. It challenges our assumptions about good and evil.
Right. He's not just a villain out of nowhere.
No. Drew's perception of being wronged by the Quartermaines, combined with them basically slamming the door on him, creates this deeply compelling narrative where his actions, however extreme they get, are rooted in an understandable, albeit twisted, sense of betrayal.
That internal justification.
Exactly. That internal justification for external ruthlessness makes him incredibly unpredictable and, frankly, dangerous to everyone around him. It forces us, the audience, to confront uncomfortable questions about accountability, revenge, especially when it involves these powerful, intertwined families.
And this internal strife is really tearing at the Quartermaine family's seams, isn't it? Brooklyn Ashton, for instance. She's put on a collision course with her mother, Louis Cerullo, specifically because of a Quartermaine family tragedy, which we could probably assume is Monica's death.
Most likely, yeah.
That suggests deep-seated family issues are about to resurface, maybe old wounds between mother and daughter that never really healed.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this internal strife within the Quartermaines, with Drew's aggressive external actions, and as we'll discuss, Michael Corinthos' newfound ruthlessness, it doesn't just threaten the family itself.
No, it spills out.
It creates broader instability that affects other factions in Port Charles. The emotional stakes within the family are directly fueling citywide conflicts. When a family as powerful and influential as the Quartermaines fractures like this, the ripple effects are felt by everyone, business rivals, civic leaders. It impacts alliances and challenges the very social fabric of the city.
It's a classic example of personal drama having very public, almost political consequences.
Precisely.
Okay, and you mentioned Michael Corinthos. Let's talk about him. His intense war with Drew Quartermaine and Willa Corinthos. It apparently hits a turning point as the summer comes to a close, where he finds himself with the upper hand.
Right. It seems the scales are tipping in his favor.
And the writers emphasize Michael's stark transformation since the firebombing incident. They note he's now capable of a ruthlessness we've never seen before. That's strong language.
It is. It signals a fundamental shift in his character.
And the preview poses this chilling question. Is there anything he won't do to secure his children and ice Drew and Willow? Ice them.
Wow.
That's pretty dark.
It truly is. Michael's journey is. It's a profound character arc, almost mirroring elements of classic tragic figures, perhaps. He's shifted from someone who arguably operated with a stronger moral compass, often trying to, distance himself from his father, Sonny's world.
Right, he always seemed to be fighting that legacy.
Exactly. To now, a figure driven by this singular, ruthless objective, protect his kids and eliminate what he sees as a threat from Drew and Willow. This internal conflict, combined with his position straddling the Quartermaine-Corinthos sphere, it means his decisions are going to have far-reaching consequences. It's escalating the family's internal war into something potentially city-altering.
So his actions could redefine what it means to be a Corinthos successor, maybe embracing the darker parts he once resisted.
That's a very real possibility. It's a compelling turn for him.
Okay, so from the Quartermaine's internal turmoil, let's explore these other major characters making unexpected reappearances, stirring up secrets, creating new dangers. First up, the treacherous return of Britt Westbourne.
Britt. Yes. Kelly Tyboat is back.
And the preview promises she will reframe the dynamic at the hospital, jumble romantic and family relationships, and be at the center of plenty of heartache and drama.
Sounds like Britt, all right.
Absolutely. Her return is framed as a catalyst for widespread upheaval. It seems like she's going to touch almost every major faction in town.
And she's described as a smartass who has a hard time knowing when to hold her tongue, who will stir up tons of trouble for herself and others, including Jason Quartermaine.
Right, that Jason connection immediately sets up an intriguing dynamic, doesn't it? Especially considering the shocking twist revealed. Britt faked her death to flee Port Charles.
That's the bombshell. Faking your own death. That's not something you just casually do. It's an act of extreme desperation or calculation.
Right. It immediately raises so many questions about her past actions. What drove her to such a drastic measure?
And the preview warns that a bigger threat to Britt's survival may loom in the form of those she left behind after her deceptions. So she's not safe, even back in Port Charles. Apparently not. And it seems she won't receive a warm welcome back home. Dante Falconeri and Lulu Spencer are specifically mentioned as being none too pleased.
Ooh, okay.
Especially because their son, Rocco Spencer, has a nascent interest in his origins.
Ah, So Brit's past choices are directly impacting the younger generation now.
F-
That adds a whole other layer of consequence.
Indeed. And this complex story, they say, will play out for some time to come, drawing in assorted Quartermaines, Falconeris, Spencers, and Corinthi, maybe even a Cooper.
Wow, that's basically half the town.
It's a testament to the ripple effect of such a dramatic return. The consequences of faking your death, they're never contained to just one person, are they?
No way.
They inevitably entangle entire family trees, creates this web of emotional, legal, potentially dangerous implications. Her actions directly impact the stability of several core families, forcing them to confront painful pasts and maybe new threats.
And the technical challenge for the writers here, making such a major return believable. They need a backstory that's compelling enough, right? So it doesn't just feel like a cheap plot device.
Exactly. It has to feel earned, plausible within the established universe, serving a larger narrative purpose.
And if Brit's return wasn't enough to shake things up, we also have the miraculous survival of Nathan West, Ryan Pavey reprising his role.
Another huge return. The audience loved Nathan.
Definitely. And the major questions driving his storyline are laid out clearly. How did Nathan survive his shooting by Cesar Fizon? Where has he been? How has he changed? These aren't just details, they're fundamental, aren't they, to understanding his return and his reintegration.
Absolutely. These questions are central, not just for reestablishing his character and place in the narrative, but also, frankly, for maintaining the integrity of the world they've built. His return isn't just a happy reunion. It carries immense emotional weight, a thick layer of trauma, surely.
Right. How will he deal with Maxie Jones's illness? A situation that's deeply impacted her since his supposed death.
And who steps up to help him pick up the pieces of his life, a life that's been essentially on hold for so long? The preview says the full impact won't be felt all at once, but the Scorpios, his friends, Britt Westbourne, Nina Reeves, Liesl Obrecht, they'll all be reeling for a long time to come.
That indicates extensive emotional fallout, affecting almost everyone who cared for him, forcing them to relive grief, confront this impossible hope, adjust to an unimaginable new reality.
It's a massive emotional reset for so many characters.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. The sheer impossibility of two characters returning from the dead, especially under such mysterious circumstances, it demands a deep dive into the how and why, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
It's not just a plot device. It fundamentally changes the rules of the game in Port Charles. When death seems this fluid, what are the real stakes anymore?
It's a tightrope walk for any long-running show, definitely. The return from the dead is a classic soap opera trope, almost a rite of passage for popular characters, right? But the writers have to navigate audience expectations carefully. Too many resurrections and the stakes of danger and loss. They lose all meaning. The technical challenge here, again, is crafting those backstories. They need to be so compelling, so plausible within this specific universe that the returns don't feel cheap.
They need to serve a purpose.
Exactly. They need to serve a larger narrative purpose, reigniting old conflicts, opening entirely new character arcs, which seems to be the case here with both Britt and Nathan. It's a testament to the creative pressure to keep these narratives fresh and surprising, while still trying to maintain some semblance of logic within a heightened reality. The how and why have to be just as dramatic and intricate as the returns themselves.
And that mystery leads us directly to Anna Devane.
Ah, Anna. Always perceptive.
While these returns feel like twin miracles to some, they feel more like twin omens to Anna. She has a strong belief. To her mind, there's only one person who could have saved them both from death. Cesar Fizon.
Fizon, of course.
Even though he's supposedly dead. This immediately connects the current mystery to a long-standing, deeply personal villain for Anna and her intuition. It's rarely been wrong in the past, has it?
Almost never. And this raises a profoundly important question. How does Anna's pursuit of this truth inevitably pull her into a dangerous web? Potentially reigniting past conflicts with a truly formidable, manipulative foe, or maybe his unseen network.
Yeah, because Fizon always had contingencies.
Always. Her full storyline is about learning the truth behind their survival, but the warning is clear. The more questions she asks, the closer she is to danger. Anna's connection to Fizon is deep, personal, historical years of cat and mouse.
So her investigation will undoubtedly unravel more than just the how.
Oh, I think so. It will likely expose deeper, more insidious plots that have been simmering beneath the surface, maybe even hinting that Fizon's influence extends far beyond the grave through hidden agents or plans set in motion long ago. This could bring back long-dormant enemies or expose new ones connected to his vast criminal legacy.
Okay, so from these intensely personal and familial dramas, let's shift focus. Let's look at the larger, citywide conflicts threatening the very fabric of Port Charles,
Right, the power plays.
where power is contested in both traditional and increasingly unconventional ways. And at the center of it all, as usual, is Sonny Corinthos. His empire's under siege, and it sounds like trouble is coming from every direction this fall.
Yeah, the preview paints a picture of Sonny facing challenges on multiple fronts. You've got Cristela Corinthos, his own daughter, having his brother, Rick Lansing, bound and ball-gagged in Alexis Davis's basement.
Which is just an immediate, deeply embarrassing family crisis for him.
Absolutely. Then you have Michael Corinthos at war with Drew Quartermaine, which inherently destabilizes parts of Sonny's business interests, surely. And Dante Falconeri is estranged from Gio, further weakening that internal family cohesion.
So these internal family conflicts are clearly weakening him, making him vulnerable.
Definitely. But beyond that, his empire faces an existential threat from an external force, Jen Sidwell.
Sidwell. Okay, he's described as not a traditional adversary. He's not, so far as we know, the head of a criminal syndicate. And crucially, he doesn't rely solely on violence to get what he wants.
Right, that's the key difference.
Instead, with critical assistance from Drew Quartermaine, interesting alliance there, and Laura Collins' nemesis Ezra Boyle, Sidwell has weaponized the democratic process against Sonny. He's putting Sonny's future into the hands of the voters.
It's a truly ingenious and unexpected move, isn't it?
It really is. And the preview aptly points out public relations is not typically a friendly battleground for mob bosses.
No kidding. This is a fascinating modern power struggle and an incredibly sophisticated narrative choice by the writers, I think. It explores how power operates now in the 21st century. It moves beyond the traditional mob boss archetype where brute force is the main currency.
Right.
Instead, it highlights the insidious rise of influence peddling, media manipulation using legal loopholes, leveraging public perception. For Sonny, it's an existential crisis because it demands a skill set he doesn't traditionally have.
He can't just intimidate his way out of bad press.
Exactly. He's a fan of brute force, backroom deals, loyalty enforced by fear. Suddenly, he's thrust into the court of public opinion. It's a brilliant and honestly incredibly relevant nod to how real-world power has diversified. It makes it a compelling commentary on contemporary themes way beyond just Port Charles.
So the question is, how does a man who rules by fear and loyalty navigate a world dictated by headlines and polls? This is uncharted territory for him. Makes him incredibly vulnerable in a totally new way.
Completely.
And directly involved in this showdown is the mayor herself, Laura Collins.
Yes, caught right in the middle.
Her battle with Sidwell and his cronies reaches its climax in the days leading up to the election. The stakes for Port Charles itself are incredibly high here, affecting every citizen. The preview states she'll score a couple of big victories, indicating she's resilient, strategic, she's fighting back. But it also warns that a larger defeat looms, bringing with it dire consequences. What kind of consequences could this defeat entail for Laura and the city?
Well, what's fascinating here is that direct clash, right, between the established political leadership, Laura, and this new unconventional threat from Sidwell, who's leveraging public opinion, and the democratic process itself.
It's not just politics. It feels like a battle for the soul of the city.
It really does, threatening its very governance. And characters like Drew Quartermaine and Ezra Boyle become pivotal players in this struggle, shifting the balance of power in ways that affect everyone. Laura's reliance on an old friend when her back is against the wall. That suggests traditional alliances are still crucial, even in this non-traditional fight. It highlights the complex web of relationships defining the city's power structure.
So a larger defeat. Could it mean losing the mayoralty?
Right.
Or something more fundamental?
It could certainly mean losing the election, but it might also signify a fundamental shift in how Port Charles is governed, potentially allowing Sidwell and his shadowy network to wield undue influence over city operations, businesses, even the PCPD. It could usher in a new era of corruption and instability.
High stakes indeed. Okay, we also have a rising legal star, ADA Justine Turner.
Yes, a new player.
She aims to make a name for herself, and her clear objective is taking Sonny down. That's a bold move against someone as entrenched as Sonny Corinthos.
Very bold, especially for a relatively new ADA.
But Sonny, ever the strategist, apparently has an angle on her and thinks he can use it to box her in and disarm her. Sounds like a high-stakes game of legal chess is about to begin.
Absolutely. It sets up this intense chess match between them, and the central question for the fall is posed. Does Sonny have the better of Justine, or is it the other way around? It introduces a fresh dynamic to Sunny's ongoing legal troubles. Justine represents a new, ambitious challenge, not a familiar foe he's already tangled with. She's not tied to old loyalties or feuds, which makes her unpredictable.
And Sonny's angle on her, that suggests he's found a vulnerability, a secret in her past, maybe, a weakness in her strategy.
Could be anything. But it suggests he's not just reacting, he's playing offense. This fight is going to push both characters to their limits, forcing them to use every legal and probably extra-legal maneuver they can think of.
So, what does this all mean for the long-term balance of power in Port Charles? Can someone like Justine actually challenge Sonny's dominance? Or is she just another pawn in his intricate game, destined to be outmaneuvered eventually? It feels like the show is setting up a new paradigm, where the mob boss has to adapt to a world where his old tactics just aren't enough anymore.
I think it absolutely suggests a fundamental shift in the power landscape. If Sonny can't just rely on violence and intimidation, and if public perception is now actively weaponized against him, then a clever, ambitious ADA like Justine Turner represents a far more nuanced and maybe more dangerous threat than he typically faces.
Right, she attacks him where he's weakest.
Exactly. Whether she ultimately succeeds or fails, her very challenge forces Sonny to evolve. He either adapts to this new legal and public relations battlefield, or he risks being outmaneuvered, maybe even rendered obsolete by a system he usually operates outside of. Her presence fundamentally questions whether Sonny's reign can endure in this changing political and social landscape, especially when his traditional methods are being systematically dismantled. It's an exciting evolution for a character who's been at the center of Port Charles' power for so long.
Okay, leaving the grand political battles for a moment, let's dive back into the personal. Those intense relationships, the dangerous predicaments that define these character arcs and drive so much of the emotional core of Port Charles.
Right. Heart of the drama.
And we kick it off with a seriously high-stakes scenario involving Jason Quartermaine, Britt Westbourne, Jocelyn Jacks, and Vaughn, caught in what the preview calls the Five Poppies peril.
Yeah, this sounds like a classic thriller setup. It's a masterclass in forced alliances and shared danger. Britt Westbourne, despite her strong personality, can hardly stand to breathe the same air as Jason, given their complicated history.
Understatement.
Definitely. Yet, she critically will need his help just to stay breathing at the Five Poppies. This perfectly illustrates that theme. Sometimes compromises must be made, especially when survival is on the line. It forces enemies, or at least antagonists, into becoming reluctant allies.
And they're definitely not alone in this peril. Jocelyn, Jackson, and Vaughn are equally imperiled, facing long odds, torture, and death at the otherwise idyllic resort. Torture and death. Okay.
Yeah, the stakes are incredibly high, and the message from the writers is clear. The foursome won't escape if they can't all work together. It creates this incredibly tense, interdependent dynamic where their lives literally hang in the balance of their ability to cooperate.
But even if they manage to survive the immediate dangers of the Five Poppies, Jocelyn and Vaughn must survive Brennan afterward. So there's a continued shadowy threat that extends beyond this resort. Brennan's reach is long.
It seems so, and to complicate matters further, adding another layer of forbidden intrigue, the WSB, the World Security Bureau, apparently does not look kindly on office romances.
The classic workplace romance dilemma, but with spies.
Exactly, which puts immense pressure on Jocelyn and Vaughn. They may have to end things before they've begun, or else continue hoping Brennan will be none the wiser. Adds this layer of illicit passion to their already perilous situation.
Wow, so it's this captivating blend of action, espionage, high emotional drama, survival forcing sworn enemies to collaborate, and a blossoming romance facing these huge external obstacles. Creates compelling internal conflict for the characters amidst all the external danger.
Absolutely. High-octane stuff.
Talk about intrigue. Okay, from that perilous scenario, let's look at Trina Robinson and Kai. They're forming a bold alliance, it seems. A new generation stepping up to face a formidable opponent.
Yes, and this stems directly from Drew Quartermaine's actions.
Right. Specifically, when he one-upped Curtis Ashford by assessing the feds on Stella Henry, an act that had the significant consequence of costing him Kai as an ally. That seems like a major miscalculation on Drew's part.
Huge miscalculation, because Kai now sees Drew for who he is and lets Trina know it. That shared indignation, that desire for justice, sets the stage for their collaboration.
And Trina, she's desperate to help her parents, Curtis and Jordan Ashford, get out from under Drew's thumb. So she enlists Kai in an effort to steal the blackmail material he's holding over them.
Which is a direct, incredibly dangerous confrontation with Drew, a man who, as we just discussed, is now Port Charles's public enemy, #1, and capable of pretty much anything. It's a high-stakes gamble for these younger characters.
And here's the kicker. The truly profound implication noted in the preview. Their decision will land them in a pivotal position to alter the course of Port Charles history.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big statement.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, how do the bold actions of these younger characters, operating from these intensely personal motivations, protecting parents, seeking justice, how do they intersect with and potentially derail the larger political and criminal power struggles involving figures like Drew and Sonny? Their small act of defiance could have massive city-altering repercussions, couldn't it?
Absolutely. This highlights a critical dynamic in Port Charles, how individual choices, even those driven by seemingly personal vendettas or family loyalty, can have this ripple effect that destabilizes established power structures far beyond their initial scope.
Right.
Trina and Kai's attempt to steal blackmail material from Drew, it isn't just about freeing her parents, it's about disrupting the very foundation of his current power, his leverage, his connections, which, as we know, are interwoven with the larger narratives involving Sonny, the election.
All connected.
It's all connected. It's a classic example of the butterfly effect in action within Port Charles. A seemingly contained act of defiance could ignite a much larger, city-altering chain of events. It proves that the younger generation isn't content to just stand by while these power plays unfold. They're actively shaping their own future, and in doing so, the future of the entire city.
Now, for something completely different, let's talk about Molly Lansing Davis and Cody Bell.
Ah, an unexpected pairing.
Definitely. This storyline presents a compelling arc of unexpected connection. Molly's initial reaction to Cody's motive for cozying up to Ava Jerome was pure disgust, a very strong emotional response.
Understandable, given Cody's reputation sometimes.
Right. But the story suggests a turning point, where the more she gets to know him, the harder it is to deny his heart of gold. That's a huge shift in perception for Molly, who's usually so analytical.
It is, and it's a classic narrative arc, isn't it? Where initial animosity, preconceived notions, they give way to a deeper, more complex understanding of a character. Molly tries to ignore him, pouring her time and energy into her work as an ADA, finding a new creative outlet, basically trying to distance herself from what she initially saw as this manipulative opportunist.
Why?
But the emotional truth is she can't escape Cody, even in her imagination, which hints at this undeniable growing attraction that she's clearly fighting against. It's that classic tension between the head and the heart.
This storyline perfectly presents that classic soap opera trope.
Yeah.
Enemies, or at least initial antagonists, turning into lovers. It explores the internal conflict of someone fighting an attraction they know might be dangerous or ill-advised. Maybe because of his reputation. They're different worlds.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder how long she can resist that pull, right? And what happens when that resistance inevitably breaks down.
It does. And it speaks to the power of unexpected connections, the idea that true character often lies beneath the surface. Cody, often seen through a cynical lens, maybe as a bit of a rogue, he clearly has layers. Molly's starting to uncover, challenging her initial, perhaps superficial, judgment.
And this kind of slow burn romance.
Built on overcoming prejudice, yeah. It can be incredibly satisfying for viewers. And for Molly, a character often defined by her intellectual, legal pursuits. Falling for someone like Cody represents a profound emotional vulnerability, a step way outside her comfort zone. That will undoubtedly lead to compelling drama as she navigates this unexpected pull. It could also seriously complicate her professional life, given her role as an ADA.
Good point. Okay, speaking of unexpected connections and complicated legal predicaments, Christina Corinthos, Ava Jerome, and Rick Lansing locked in some serious basement drama.
Chuckles, yes, the basement situation.
They find an unlikely foundation for a relationship ensures, wait for it, hate for each other and hate for Rick.
Only in Port Charles.
This shared animosity may, against all odds, serve to bring them to a peace, which is quite an ironic twist given the circumstances.
It truly is. They're in this deeply shared and frankly absurd predicament. They are forced to work with Alexis Davis with the goal of wiggling out of the legal trouble Rick put them all in.
And their intricate plan.
To keep him on ice for a month. And let's not forget, Rick is literally bound and ball gag in Alexis's basement, courtesy of Christina, so they can put the money Alexis siphoned from the Cassadine estate back where it came from, and none will be the wiser.
It's a desperate plan born of extreme circumstances. Wow.
Absolutely.
Dark humor and incredibly high stakes here. Kidnapping, hiding a person, intertwined with a scheme involving stolen Cassadine money. It promises a roller coaster of legal and personal jeopardy.
Oh, yeah.
But, as always in Port Charles, things don't go smoothly. Rick's absence does not go unnoticed, especially when a client is in dire need and he's nowhere to be found. Of course.
Naturally. A lawyer vanishing is going to raise eyebrows.
And to make matters worse, Elizabeth Weber and Molly Lansing Davis are on the case. Plus, another Port Charles resident with a nose for trouble. Discovery seems imminent. This whole situation is its own little powder keg just waiting for a spark.
Absolutely. The tension comes from how long they can possibly maintain this facade and the inevitable fallout when the truth comes out. Rick Lansing is a well-known lawyer. His disappearance, especially when critical clients need him, would immediately raise red flags.
And having Elizabeth, a keen observer, and Molly, an ADA, on the case, that significantly raises the stakes.
Hugely. And that another Port Charles resident with a nose for trouble could be anyone. Sam McCall, a journalist, maybe even Dante or Chase, someone relentless. This situation just highlights how entangled lives are in Port Charles. A seemingly contained problem in a basement can quickly escalate to involve multiple families, the law, potentially leading to criminal charges for several prominent citizens.
The consequences will be far-reaching, especially given Alexis's own precarious legal standing already.
Exactly. This could be catastrophic for her.
Okay, finally, in this segment, let's touch upon Gio Cerullo and Emma Scorpio Drake.
Ah, the younger set again.
Their friendship is deepening as they navigate complex situations. Seems like a comforting anchor amidst all this chaos. Emma turns to Gio for help, getting the goods on Henry Dalton, who's been a thorn in the side of the Corinthos family, while he turns to her to strike a mutual understanding with Brooklyn Ashton and Dante Falconeri.
So they're clearly each other's confidants, relying on each other for support, for strategy.
Yeah. Their bond is a crucial element for the next generation, showcasing how these younger characters are forging their own paths while still being tangled in the city's broader conflicts.
But there's a catch. Gio's relationships with his would-be family evolve, but there's a critical detail. Getting closer to one family member in particular threatens to blow up his relationships with all the others.
Okay. So internal conflict for Gio, forcing him to choose sides or navigate incredibly delicate family dynamics, potentially alienating people he cares about.
Precisely. It creates significant tension for him.
This raises an important question then. How did these evolving, often fragile alliances and burgeoning relationships among the younger generation, how do they inevitably influence the larger power struggles within Port Charles? And what difficult choices or sacrifices might be made as a result of these deepening connections as they start to exert their own influence on the city's fate?
That's a great point. The choices of the younger generation are rarely isolated, are they? Their alliances, their conflicts, they often reflect, or sometimes even accelerate, the larger feuds that define Port Charles. Gio's burgeoning connection that threatens to blow up his relationships, that could force him into an impossible position. It could impact multiple family lines, Corinthos, Quartermaine, maybe others, and potentially create new fault lines in the city's complex social and criminal landscape.
So these characters, though younger, they're not just bystanders.
Not at all. Their actions will have real, tangible consequences on the established order, sometimes inadvertently, sometimes quite deliberately. They're the future, and their decisions will define the next era of Port Charles.
Okay, to conclude our deep dive, let's broaden our perspective one last time. Let's look at the return of pivotal younger characters and the ongoing machinations of powerful figures, setting the stage for future conflicts, shifting loyalties, things that will shape Port Charles for years to come.
Wrapping it all up.
And Charlotte Cassadine is returning to the canvas. She's assuming a pivotal role, which suggests she's far more than just a background character now.
Yeah, and she's described as incredibly shrewd, which is a fascinating development for a younger character. She is apparently very useful to anyone who wants something from Valentin Cassadine, and she knows it.
Wow.
She isn't afraid to exploit her relationship with her father to get what she wants, showcasing this cunning, manipulative side that's, well, it's quite rare for a character her age. This isn't just teenage angst. This sounds like strategic thinking.
We've seen her act out before, but this sounds different, like a conscious, calculated wielding of influence.
Exactly.
That's an intriguing prospect. A younger character understanding and manipulating power dynamics, leveraging family ties for personal gain, promises a fascinating new chapter. And she'll draw closer to Danny Morgan and Rocco Spencer as we develop General Hospital's next generation.
Right, hinting at new alliances, maybe new rivalries among the younger characters. It feels like a very deliberate move to show the next generation already playing the game, learning from their parents' complex legacies, but maybe with their own unique, perhaps even more ruthless, twists.
And Charlotte's father, Valentin Cassidy. Even from his confinement, he casts a long shadow, even from his cell in Steinmauer, demonstrates his enduring power, his influence, despite being locked up.
He always finds a way, doesn't he?
Seems like it. Revelations this fall will have him striking an unlikely alliance and making a run at freedom. Suggests a dramatic escape is imminent.
Always dramatic with Valentin.
And his ultimate goal is clear. Taking revenge on Jack Brennan, which will undoubtedly lead to high-stakes confrontations. Given Valentin's history of grand schemes, ruthless ambition, his freedom, coupled with Charlotte's strategic manipulations, that creates an incredibly potent threat to the established order, doesn't it?
Absolutely potent.
So what does Valentin's return to active plotting mean for an already unstable Port Charles, especially with his manipulative daughter Charlotte also at play? Maybe he is an unwitting pawn, or maybe even a willing one in his schemes. His freedom, his quest for revenge, it could unleash absolute chaos, couldn't it? Pulling everyone connected to Brennan, maybe even the WSB, right into his dangerous orbit.
Oh, absolutely. Valentin is a master chess player. His absence has likely only allowed his plans to simmer, to mature. His revenge plot against Brennan won't be contained. It will inevitably draw in other powerful players, destabilize the delicate balance of power that exists, ensuring far-reaching, dangerous consequences for the city.
And with Charlotte now understanding how to leverage her connection to him.
Right, she could become a key component in his plans, willingly or not. Adding this terrifying layer of family manipulation to his grand schemes, the Cassidines, as always, are a force to be reckoned with. Their reemergence into the forefront of villainy promises widespread disruption.
Okay, next. Nina Reeves and Willow Corinthos.
Ah, a perpetually fraught relationship.
Understatement of the year. This has been filled with tension, heartbreak. Willow is unequivocally done with Nina. The preview makes that clear, signifying a definitive end from her side, a boundary she has firmly set. But for Nina, it's a different story. Nina is not done with Willow, highlighting Nina's unwavering determination to remain a part of Willow's life despite that clear rejection.
And this is such a classic exploration, isn't it, of the persistent, sometimes self-destructive nature of family ties, unresolved emotional conflicts, Nina's motivation. While maybe stemming from a genuine desire to be a mother to Willow, it's often clouded by her own impulses, her past mistakes, this deep-seated need for acceptance she has.
And the preview emphasizes the high stakes here. Nina's actions on Willow's behalf may save her daughter or doom her.
Wow. Save her or doom her.
That puts Nina in this incredibly precarious position, where her attempts to reconnect could have unintended, maybe devastating consequences for Willow and for herself. It's a testament to the powerful, sometimes toxic nature of a mother's love clashing with the daughter's deep-seated resentment.
It really is.
So how far will Nina go in her attempts to reconnect? And what will be the true cost for both her and Willow? It feels like an emotional tightrope walk, doesn't it? Where every well-intentioned action by Nina could inadvertently push Willow further away, or worse, cause even greater harm.
It's an emotional tightrope, without a doubt. And Nina's persistence, despite Willow's clear boundaries, it could absolutely push Willow further away, or, as the writer suggests, have truly catastrophic results, perhaps ironically confirming all of Willow's reasons for wanting Nina out of her life permanently. This storyline delves into that nuanced pain of a parent-child relationship fractured by years of deception and hurt. It explores whether redemption is even possible when one party has definitively closed the door and the other just refuses to accept it. It's a deeply resonant theme. Forgiveness, boundaries, the long shadow of past actions.
Finally, we turn to Alexis Davis, who is facing a mounting series of crises that would overwhelm pretty much anyone.
Alexis always seems to be juggling crises.
Right. She has her hands full, with Rick Lansing literally in her basement.
Right.
Maintaining peace between Ava Jerome and Christina Corinthos, shielding Molly Lansing Davis from the truth about Rick, clinging to Scout, watching Jenny Morgan's back, and then constantly watching her own. It sounds like the weight of Port Charles is just resting squarely on her shoulders.
It's an overwhelmingly complex load for any character to bear. A relentless onslaught of personal, professional, ethical, legal dilemmas.
And to make matters even worse, a shocking act late in the summer puts Alexis square in the PCPD's crosshairs, suggesting serious legal trouble beyond just the Rick Lansing situation.
Okay, so it's piling up even more.
Yeah. And the surprising conclusion drawn in the preview, which truly underscores the depth of her looming legal and personal woes, is that Rick may be the least of her problems.
Wow. Considering Rick is bound and gagged in her basement, that is a staggering statement. What could possibly be worse than that?
Exactly. How do characters like Alexis, constantly caught between personal loyalties, legal obligations, moral responsibilities, how do they navigate such a relentless wave of crises? What breaking point might she reach this fall, given that even the illicitly bound Rick might be the least of her worries? It feels like she's being pushed to her absolute limits. The city's chaos is converging directly on her.
Alexis's character is fundamentally defined by that struggle, isn't she? Her moral compass, her attempts to navigate the murky waters of Port Charles with some integrity, despite her personal flaws and, let's face it, sometimes questionable choices. The sheer volume of crises she faces now, particularly the legal ones, will test her to her absolute limits. This scenario forces a critical examination. How far can one bend before breaking? What principles might get compromised when everything she cares about, her family, her reputation, her freedom, is threatened?
And who can she rely on?
That's a huge question. Who can she truly rely on when she herself becomes the target? And will her own past missteps finally catch up to her in a way she just can't escape? This fall for Alexis promises to be a true crucible of character.
There you have it. Deep Divers, a breathtaking scope of the intensity, the intrigue awaiting us this fall on General Hospital. We've covered everything from major deaths and shocking returns to intricate power struggles, legal dilemmas, deeply intertwined emotional stakes. It all promises to keep everyone on the edge of their seats and, frankly, make us rethink how some of these narratives typically play out.
Yeah, it feels like they're really shaking things up. Our deep dive today was designed to give you that curated shortcut, right? To being well-informed about the biggest developments, identifying those crucial nuggets of knowledge, the analytical insights that will undoubtedly shape Port Charles for months, maybe even years to come. We've seen how the writers are pushing boundaries, exploring modern themes, and definitely keeping the audience guessing.
Absolutely. So, given how every choice, every shocking return, every hidden truth is setting Port Charles on this collision course, transforming even seemingly good characters into ruthless players, challenging long-held assumptions about power and consequence. What singular spark do you predict will ultimately ignite this powder keg, the one that sends ripple effects across all these intertwined storylines we've talked about?
Ooh, that's the big question.
And what will be the lasting legacy of those who are left standing, left to sift through the ashes of this explosive fall? We'd love for you to ponder that as you go about your day. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.
Thanks, everyone. It's going to be a wild ride in Port Charles.